Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Comment Writers. We are a Kamen Rider review podcast. Today on the show, we're going to talk about Kamen Rider Gav, episode 5. I'm your host, Josh Meek, the Uber Geek, and I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Toby Tobes. How's it going, Toby?
Josh, why don't we have a slogan or like a tagline?
What would it be if we had one?
Oh no,
Yeah.
I mean this is more just me like complaining up front that we don't have one,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't like think far enough into getting us one.
Oh, good. I'm glad you don't have anything to add to this bit then.
Yeah,
It's wonderful.
like because I don't know what made me think of it. So I was listening to something stupid. Maybe the theme song again because like got boost question mark. So I was thinking about like if we could have ones for our show for like the Kamen Riders blankety blank blank, and I was going through ideas. And then I thought of like Winamps was always, it really whips the llama's ass. And I thought that was always silly, but that sticks out. Like we need a cool tagline. Like, I don't know. That's where you come in.
Complaining about the real heroes. Something about complaining or not doing anything actually substantive. Something
Doing
like
nothing
that.
since 09.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
That'll
I feel
work.
like a lot of that's an avenue for your slogan is putting like the date that you started. But whenever someone does that, it's always like they just started their company or whatever it is like that year. So it's like, since 2024. I was like, well, that's not that impressive. Don't add that into the slogan until like you've been around for a decade or something.
I think maybe we lean back into having CommonRiderSucks.com. It's like the Comment Rider sucks, or Kamen Rider sucks.
Well, the comment writers do suck. That also is true. But yeah, maybe we just tell people we really hate Kamen Rider, and then we continue to do an hour-long show on it every week. This is terrible. Please listen. Can you think of any podcasts that do have good slogans?
I can't think of any podcasts that do have slogans in general.
How about we make our slogan the best goddamn podcast in the world?
I feel like someone already has that, but we should do that anyway.
You think so? Think someone else there is out there is that braggadocious?
Yeah, and I feel like it's something that we both listen to or watch or something along those lines.
Maybe it's subconsciously.
It's just in your subconsciously.
What if our slogan is at least top 10? Like we're at least top 10 podcasts in the world.
The number one show named the Comment Writers.
How about if it's the Comment Writers? We're coming for you, Hawk Tua girl.
We need either a guest spot from Hawk to a Girl, or we need to get on her network. I think is both.
Oh, does she have a network now?
Yeah, like because her podcast is Talk to a. I think we talked about that already.
Yeah.
But it's on like, I mean, granted, like we could just say like we're the Kamen Rider Network, and it just counts.
Exactly.
But I feel like she has some sort of like bubble sphere of influence now. That's not just the podcast. It's like a thing.
I agree. Yeah, we need to get in her orbit. Yeah. Whatever it takes to be. What's the male equivalent of Hawk Tua? Can you say something really crass in a man on the street interview and then get us like rich and famous because of it? Can we make that happen?
If at all possible, I will do that.
Just the next time you see someone with a microphone, just run up and be like, "I spit on that thing," and see if you get famous. See if it works. I'm willing to throw you under the bus for this.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. It worked for her. That I think they were talking about this on the Sad Boys podcast that you and I both watched recently. They're talking about her and her like crossover appeal because she's like, she's talking about blowjobs on the street, but it's like a thing that like I think like boomers are like, oh yeah, I do that too, it really like reaches across the border, if you will, reaches across the aisle. So we need to figure out what it is, like what's just crass enough that we can say it on the street, and generations of all kinds love us for it, and then like, oh, maybe this Kamen Rider thing is something I should look into.
Do you think if I made, so the other thing I was debating for these genius ideas, if I made or we made whatever like QR code stickers, so like we'll tie it to like if we make QR code stickers and make people scan them without telling them what they're for, then they'll at least find the podcast. But to go back a step, if you saw a random QR code on a sticker on like a light post or a gas station pump or like the toll taker booths. I feel like used to have a bunch of the stickers when the arms used to go down. Like, would you even scan a QR code in the first place that was just out in the earth to see where it was going to go, or probably not?
Not only would I have. It's probably not a great idea, but just happened just the other day. I was getting gas, and
See, exactly.
there was a QR code on the gas pump, and I'm sitting here, and I'm like, and it had something like also with the QR code. I can't remember what it was, but it was something like kind of mysterious, like White Rabbit or something like that, right? And I scanned it, and Toby, it was a buying drugs website. It was a like clearly like unlisted on Google website that you could use to literally buy like hard drugs. Like not just like we're not talking like,
We're talking
the
the good stuff. We're
we're
talking the
talking
good stuff.
yeah, we're talking the good stuff here, and I couldn't believe that it existed, but it did, and I was on it. So there you go. I clearly am the target market for random QR codes that you shouldn't actually be scanning, but I totally do.
So maybe this will work. One of my favorite, some random person I was friends with years and years and years ago, when people used to put more stickers on everything, because I feel like that was definitely a trend, especially on like the booths where you throw your change in, where you go when you used to go on the turnpike
Uh huh.
kind of deal. I forget what band it was from around here, but somehow the band came up and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's Pennsylvania Turnpike's favorite band," and it just made me laugh, like a hearty chuckle laugh, like "ha ha ha, holy shit," just because that's where I always saw the stickers, and
That's
it was just
awesome.
it was a weird topical funny joke to me for whatever reason.
It actually worked. Like them sticking the stickers enough made you and this other person know the band, know that's where they saw him. That's
Yeah,
kind of crazy. Like that's actually wild.
so I think maybe going back around, we might need to make a QR code and put it on stickers, and then
That's
I will slap them up all over the place.
We can do that. I have one other option for us, and that suggestion comes in via email here, Toby.
Uh
Uh, Longtime listener, first time emailer. Keep up the great work on the podcast, Josh and Toby. You guys have wonderful chemistry. Now here's the idea to it.
oh.
If you guys want to expand the Common Writer brand, have you guys thought of making OnlyFans? Since you guys like puns, you could name it Come and Ride Her,
What the fuck?
where each week, instead of a monster of the week, it's something a lot different. Of course, all being done while wearing a Common Writer suit of choice. So, we could merge that idea in as well. You could start an OnlyFans, and that could lead you to Hawk to a glory, I guess.
I feel like for that to work, the amount of people we would need to hire to put into the situations to make that website worth it,
You're
we'd
saying
probably be
it's not
awkward.
just you and me starring them in
No,
the OnlyFans
no,
every week?
that sounds like a bad idea. So we're gonna tabletop that one.
Wow, rude.
But whatever.
It
But
would be
like,
called Come and Ride Her, so there is some things missing. Like we the 2
yeah,
of us are not her.
yeah. So like this is what I'm saying. Like the logistics are good. Like this is a good business idea,
I
and I
agree.
bet you there's a crazy hyper specific but still market for pretty people in Common Rider helmets doing bad things. But I feel like we'd have to pay people, and at that point they might as well just do it themselves. And there's not like a brand ad for us there when they could do it themselves. And B, if we ever really wanted to get in trouble and have like Toei come after us for something, I really think licensing their business ensembles out to pretty people doing dirty things is probably the best way to get a bullseye on us.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're not gonna turn a blind eye to that for sure. But if someone was gonna go down that road, Kamen Rider Gav is the ultimate show that you can like turn up to 11 and make really dirty, right? Like literally the mouth is on the stomach. Like that writes itself. But yeah, there's just your suggestion.
It's a good one. It's a good one. I feel like it's a loss leader if we do it,
I
and at
think
that
so.
point, we're already losing money as it is.
I agree.
So it's a reverse win.
I agree. I agree. Toby, this email goes on. Second, I think the format you guys tried at the end of Gotchard worked really well, starting with a casual talk, episode discussion, then leading into emails and questions, as often the email/questions talk about the episode anyway, so it felt like a nice way to wrap everything up. I agree, reading this one now, to then say, yeah, I think we'll probably do that permanently. I also liked that switching to the end. I think that that's a good way to do things.
Well, I think if you're spot checking the emails,
Uh-huh.
like, because obviously we have our layout of OnlyFans talk, Common Writer talk, and then community talk.
Yeah.
So like as long as you're like auditing the stuff and you're like, hey, this one's about pretty ladies putting on Gav helmets and getting fucked. Like those should
The
go up front. That's more of an upfront, let's get people in here early kind of thing.
yeah.
And then
Was
if it's like, hey, did you know in this episode that Gav's helmet was a spare that they found? Like that can be addressed at the end. Kind of
I
thing.
agree. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you got to get the pretty ladies and the common under helmets getting fucked. Those are lost leaders. You get those up front. That's
This is
that's
how we get them
important.
in.
Yeah. That's like the guy spitting the sign out in front of the sandwich place. You know what I mean? Like it's like that's you get people in the door that way.
The
And
people that
then
are good at that, that's a fucking skill.
it is.
It's
Yeah.
like when they do the crazy helicopters and flip tricks and all the cool
I
stuff.
I could
Whenever
never.
you, I don't know if I could either. If you ever see people shilling stuff on the corner in front of the business, like I'll say like we'll use sign spinners as the first example, but sometimes people are like in outfits or holding signs or anything. Do you interact with those people ever?
Um like I would say hello if they interacted with me.
If you're in your car, like if you're in the car, you drive
Oh,
past
okay.
like Midas and Midas the mufflers outside waving to people. Are you
Um,
interacting?
I have like it depends on the person. Again, it depends on the sign spinner. If they're like actively trying to get you to engage, like I will be the person that honks and as you go by, you know, give them a little toot toot. But I'm not gonna like go out of my way to like be involved in this person's day.
I see. Like I'm guaranteed anyone's outside doing anything, whether it looks like they're having a good time or bad time. I'm definitely honking at them because I feel like it's enabling what they're outside doing either way.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair. I think it's like this is your job to engage with traffic, so it doesn't feel like I'm being a jerk or a weirdo if I'm like giving them a little honk. I do feel like that really the size of the city that you're doing that in does actually matter because like my small hometown felt way more reasonable in a, you know, 2 or 4 lane road to like give someone a honk versus like the big city that I live in now where it's like, you know, there's so many cars at this intersection, like I'm not going to just randomly honk because no one's going to know I'm aiming it at the sign spinner way over there and not
Oh, they'll
like
know.
the cars 4 in front of me. Uh so there definitely there's a limit there where it's like you gotta read the surroundings, I think. There's a guy in my town now, who was, like, famous for his sign spinning because he'd been doing it for, like, literal decades for the same place.
Holy shit!
Uh, yeah, insane, and he, like, has his own, like, little pallet that he would bring and, like, stand on and stuff, like, he's got the whole gear set up and stuff, but, yeah, he'd been doing it for I think, like, longer than I'd been alive or something insane like that. It was like, you know, like, "I ride the bus every day. I've been doing it since 1974," or whatever. Uh, yeah, that's you gotta have really strong upper body strength at that point, right? You spend, like, waving your arms for 8 hours a day, every day.
Wave them like you just don't care.
That's right.
Throw them in the air. Something, something.
Uh, and the
Speaking
last
of
part
Gav,
last part of this
oh,
email.
okay, there's more.
Lastly, in episode 3, you brought up Jeeb's stomach and Sheeta's stomach, the twins, being one male and one female actor slash actress. Upon watching episode 4, I do believe this was an intentional choice to show the yin yang in the vibes and the outfits. If you look, Jeeb, the male actor, is wearing a dress and more feminine clothing, while Sheeta, the female actress, is wearing pants and more male clothing. I think this could be more hints or playing on themes of them being mixed matched and the two complementing each other by being opposite to what someone may usually wear. Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. The like, you know, the clothing mixed and the genders mixed to match the clothing. Yeah, that's very yin and yang, opposites attract type of thing.
So this is the same email that had the OnlyFans in it, correct?
Yeah, and it ends with keep up the great work for both of you. I hope the OnlyFans joke got you guys to laugh. Sincerely, come and ride her. So this person is only identifying themselves as the name of our OnlyFans. Come and
That's
ride her.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I
So
want to
yeah,
point out that by sending this email to us, it's officially like whatever that like property ownership thing is, where it was our idea now at this point.
calling it. Yeah. This
Like
person
they gave
also
away all permissions henceforth, furthermore, in perpetuity.
in
Yeah, that's it.
perpetuity.
In
Yeah,
perpetuity, this is now our thing. So like I appreciate you emailing us about our great idea to do this. And if you want to
copyright,
help us
copyright.
going forward, copyright going forward, like we're good. I appreciate that too.
It it's probably not good for us. It's kind of damning that we have now audio evidence that wasn't our idea.
No, this you just edit it. This is your fucking job here.
The
You're supposed
magic
to.
of editing. I don't I don't do that. I don't do any editing, Toby. I'm sorry.
Okay, Josh, come and ride her. Dot a lot of things is for sale on the internet. So I really feel like this might be the time to strike. I mean, you get off this category like ASAP, but
Are you how are you spelling cum?
like like come hither.
Okay. All right. Well, there's some options there is all I'm saying.
Speaking of options, let's talk about Common Rider Gav episode 5.
All right, let's dive in here. So, episode 5 is pretty wild, I think. There's a lot going on. Um and there's I think some key like some big figs to talk about. The very first one I think I want to talk about, Toby, is everything surrounding Dinte's stomach. We meet him right at the very beginning here. Shoma wakes up and we find out Dinte's stomach is a granute. He knows Shoma. He says Shoma's doing really well after the surgery. Basically, we find out that Dinte's stomach is Shoma's like dad's younger brother. And he knows his dad Boche, I think, or something like that. Is that how you pronounce the name?
Something
A-
like that.
And when Shoma was a kid, Dente's stomach did a surgery on him to make his Gav work because he was half human and it wouldn't produce the Gochizo, so it wasn't working. So he was trying to, unlock his power basically as a Granute. Also, Dente's stomach, Uncle Dente, if you will, invented the system that can turn humans into spice, into the dark confections. So he's the reason why all of this is happening. And now here he is trying to be cool uncle, came to Earth because the snacks are so good. What a weird guy.
He's the alpha and the omega of the whole stomach's family system.
Yeah, I guess so. He was hard to get a read on here. Obviously, Shoma like runs away from him and is mad, rightfully so. But he's a weird, strange guy. Um, he's like he's genuinely super excited for Shoma that he's like unlocked his power and that it's the snacks on Earth that did it. He clearly thinks that that's pretty cool, and him coming to Earth was like to research ways to make it all work. Basically, he kind of explains like how he really started to like Shoma when he was a kid and wanted to protect him and he wanted to make the surgery work and all that stuff. So, um, yeah, Dente stomach.
I think more so. I don't think Shoma's mad at him as much as I think Shoma's mad at the words that he said. Like he's
Yeah.
obviously the the figure of his dad in this of like he's the arbiter of the message and like yeah like I did this for your dad and your dad was kind of a piece of shit but he was trying to watch out for you and since Shoma can't yell at his dad and punch him in the face he punches al dente instead.
I think you're right. Yeah. We do find out more about the dad, like you said, like we get to see Boche in flashbacks. We get to actually see him, and he's a big question mark here as well because because Shoma's obviously very mad at him. Like, hey, I didn't ask to be trapped in the house the whole time with my mom like a prisoner. I didn't need that life. My mom didn't want that life. And
And it looks shitty too.
it
That
looked
life
bad.
looked
Yeah.
it looks like super shitty. Like it was another great way they did the flashbacks to give a story. But I did like if mom was a human and like they had a kid and we'll assume it's all in the up and up here. Like her choice, her taste in partners is highly suspect because Shoma's dad looks like a super evil demon dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even like it was like, "Oh, he was so handsome and he's cute and, I fell for him and we loved you." It was very, like, Beauty and the Beast style of, like, the dude that actually looks like Beast, and he locked mom in the upstairs attic or whatever you wanna call it, and was like, "Yeah, you and the kids stay here. And by the way, I'm gonna beat the shit out of both if you, like, talk back to me, so you just chill, and then we'll go from there."
In her defense, he probably has a human form, just like all of them do,
That's true.
like the twins do, and all the other Stomach family. So maybe his human form is like a total smoke show. We don't know. Uh, but it seems like mom likes the bad boys. It does seem like that's the case. Um, and Dente is, he presents basically that like Buche, your dad, like really cared about you. He was just trying to keep you safe, and that sort of a thing. But like, I think Shoma's Shoma's response of like, cool, he should never even have like had me, basically, is pretty valid as well.
And it's
Uh,
funny because, like, they kept saying, like, the whole crux of this rolling into later in the episode kinda thing too, is, like, he keeps saying, "Your dad cared. No, your dad was helping you, I promise." Like, "No, your dad was a good guy." Like, "No, your dad did this." But nothing in the flashbacks actually showed anything with that being like, being a conversation piece or a talking point or even, like,
yeah.
a glimmer of the flashbacks. It was like, "Hey, by the way, like, I was doing weird surgeries on you, but I felt bad because you were a tiny little kid." And then it was, "Hey, here's this flashback of your dad punching your mom in the face." And that
That's
was
true.
really all the flashbacks of, like, "Hey, dad's watching out for you. Don't worry about it."
Yeah, there's nothing like casual domestic abuse to show how much you care. That's very true.
And then,
Yeah.
like, as a like, and with the baby Shoma or young Shoma getting his Gab surgery things, it reminded me of, uh, Black Sun when they would put, like, the weird goo crystals in the kids for the surgery.
Oh
So
yeah.
that felt like a fun, like, I know it's not a throwback to it kinda deal, but, like, it felt like a cool, like, nod reminder of the absurdity of Black Sun as well.
Yeah, definitely. This whole show has Black Sun vibes, like with the dark confections and all that. Going to the goo and stuff. Like it definitely there's a lot of similarities here. Um, I was zooming back through the show to actually look at the father again. He's got this like big white Odin beard going on. He is terrifying looking. You're totally right. Um, his exact
His beast form is scary, yes.
It is very scary, and his exact words there are like, "Give him the power to live with strength," um, which is interesting. I do get the sense that they're going to try to, um, the dad's gonna have a redemption arc. I think they're gonna try to paint the father as, like, actually being a good guy and trying his best against, like, his evil family. That's the vibe I'm getting right now.
Well, yes, like, I mean, it's assuming this is not another show where all the dads suck and it's a miserable nightmare existence kinda deal,
Yeah.
like, of course, it's gonna do, like, it feels like the type of thing where they will re-show the flashbacks that we saw, and then they'll show, like, the 30 seconds past that point where, like, the dad went out in the hallway and cried, and then the twins came over and were like, "Your kid kinda sucks," and, like, punches them both in the face or something, and, like, I'm sure there'll be, like, all the pieces that were missing on, like, if this was a sandwich and Shoma getting surgery is, like, the cream of the Oreo, the other parts of the cookie on the outside would be like his dad being upset and being like, "No, we have to force the surgery so he can defend himself if he ever has to," all upset, crying about it. And then like him secretly hugging my new buddy Al Dente here, like giving him hugs afterwards, like, "Oh my God, thank you so much. You protected my son." Or dad was the one that sent him down to earth in the first place, of like, just go double check on him, please. Like, just make sure he's okay. I can't go down, do whatever kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's gonna happen. We're gonna have that turn for sure. Also, in all of this, flashing back and going to meet with the stomachs, which we get a lot of here as well. We get to find out more about kind of, I'll say, Granute society. um, so the next scene, kind of after we meet Dente, is with the twins. They're kind of talking. They're kind of continuing that story a bit, like talking about Shoma as a kid. He was a weakling. The experiment had failed. Maybe it worked now. They talk about Dente creating the dark confections and stuff, and then their brother Lengo shows up, and he's kind of scolding them. Basically, he's like, "Hey, you were supposed to get the premium product. Our stock levels haven't gone up. If you can't handle this job, then I'll have my agents do it again." And then we get one of the craziest scenes I think in this episode. He like looks out over the balcony and thinks about how Granute society works. So come to find out, the stomach, candy manufacturer, basically they're a black market operation. And he's worried that if they continue to like be sort of this underground sensation, they're eventually going to get found out and get shut down. So they need to be able to sell to like the wealthiest members of society. So then they're basically too connected to be shut down. Like they'll be in with all the people who would have the power to keep them safe. Um, and
Like
then
joking about our QR code thing earlier. He basically wants to take his like underground drug market
yep,
and make it corporate or make it like not illegal where the cops will come.
yeah,
And then the character we meet midway slash tied to the ending, like I don't think I felt like in the first 4 episodes, I don't feel like they made it super drug related. Just like ha ha ha, we like candy, will work for the candy. And this one, after prefacing it with, we need to stop being black market and underground, and we need to get these drugs to the surface. Like the main character for like the evil monster this week seemed high as shit. He was all giddy when he got his fix. He was like, "Oh god, I want to eat it now," and he was like, "No, I gotta save it for later. I think I'm not jonesing for it yet." And I feel like out of nowhere they made it a crazy drug thing and
yeah.
just leaned way the fuck into it.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. And I guess, yeah, it had been there if you wanted to examine it in that in that way, but they hammered that home this time, to a crazy degree. And yeah, like because the little scene in again in Granute society is crazy because you get to see like regular Granute people, like a mom and her kid, but they just are monsters, which is very funny. And they're just like buying some candy, and then yeah, like you said, the guy rolls up clearly like jonesing for a fix, and he was like, "I'm told you're the guy I'm supposed to talk to. You
Yeah,
got the
exactly.
stuff?" Yeah.
You knock twice and you say the secret code word, and then I'll help you out.
Yeah. Also, not only is it kind of dark that it's like clearly just drugs, which again, Common Rider Black Sun, but it also is pretty darn dark that it's just drugs, and it is we need to sell our drugs to the right people so that we can get corruption to work on our side. Like that's extra wild.
Yeah, like
It-
I don't need to sell the dark confections to my neighbor. I need to sell dark confections to like my local mayor
and the chief of police, yeah,
and the chief of
exactly.
police and be like, "Yo, guys, you want this? Test this out. It'll taste real good." And then when they get hooked, then I have the police in my back pocket.
Got to get the powerful people hooked. Exactly. Yeah, I thought that was all crazy, and that's all kind of wrapped up in the Dente stomach stuff. But like, we're really pretty rapidly getting way more of an idea of what's happening with the Granutes and with the father than I expected us to. I think it was last episode here. I was like, yeah, we'll never find out about the dad. Like, I don't think they're really going to talk about it too much. And then suddenly here, it's like, no, we're getting flashbacks involving the dad, like right away. All right, yeah, you guys are crafting a different story than I was expecting.
And we
Eh,
always mention like out of a lot of the shows, like every episode does such an amazing job of front story and backstory at the same time.
Yeah,
And even this one, like, so we're 5 episodes in, and I feel like they've given me enough information again at this point where I just understand like the whole show. Like I feel like I know the entire story ish to what we have, but like they did such a good way of like trickling it in, but also keeping it moving and there's twists and turns kind of, but not really. They just kind of build upon what you already knew every week, and I still like the
yeah.
show is still doing fantastic with that shit.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, they're also doing a really interesting thing specifically this episode or sorry, this series where each episode I felt like I have a lot of information. Like we end an episode and I don't feel like there's a ton of question marks about like what's happening. and then the next episode will happen, and they'll be like, "Oh, there was a lot I didn't know, and now you've told me it." So they're doing a good job of like having things that they can dole out every time without making it feel like really cheesy cliffhangers, um, which is cool. I like that they're kind of layering that stuff in pretty well.
You know, they do a very good, like, I guess we'll call it like a roller coastery job of how the story goes. Because like the end of the last episode, like the closing cutaway thing was, oh no, he passed out again, but this time it's a monster. This time it's going to be something evil
Yeah.
instead of, uh, a new friend. So like you were on the high coming out of the last episode. He wakes up, you see the monster, you're like, oh shit, he's fucked. A monster has him. So you're up a little higher. And he's like, oh no, I'm just your uncle, Al dente. And he's it mellows back out. And you're just chilling. And like, oh, there's one of him down here. There's someone that understands him. Like maybe this is his friend. This all makes sense. Oh, it's part of his family. That works. That's pretty cool. And you're like, you're in the lull and just kind of hanging out again. And he's like, oh yeah, by the way, like I helped your dad set all this shit up, and your dad liked you and was trying to watch out for you. And then we went back up because Shom was like, this is bullshit. No, he didn't. He beat me. Blah blah. Blah. We ran back up again, and like it does good of like it seemed crazy in the beginning, coming out of the last episode. A nice like mellow start again, and just like it ramps back up again, and it just goes back and forth every episode, even like cross episodes at this point.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. Another thing they've done a really good job at sort of easing into is clearly the friendship with our main characters, and we get that progressing a bit further this time around as well. So Honto is on his investigation train still, and we've talked about sort of his path of like, ooh, how's he gonna feel about the common writer, and you know, is he gonna hate Shoma at first because he's a monster just like killed his mom? But here, we get the big the big scene here where he yells at a bunch of people like, "Hey, he's not a monster. He's the common writer. He saved you." And like he's firmly in the camp of common writer is good, which I think is very cool.
Yeah, and like even that, like it wasn't like a big dramatic, like for me, the outside watcher person, like it wasn't a big sad, like emotional moment of like, oh my god, someone finally has his back. It was just a very cool, solid moment of Shoma being like, no, don't touch the rappers. You might actually kill the people.
Yeah,
Just like he's just like put them all down and we'll save them. We got this. And like just even starting from that where the investigator dude was like, oh, okay, he's not that bad. And when like he saved like 30 people, it felt like from all
it
the
was a
ones he cut
bunch.
out,
Yeah.
like a whole like tiny room full of people, and they're all like, again, oh, it's a monster, it's a monster, and like Hanto whatever he got pissed and was like, no, idiots, he literally just saved you. Everyone knock it off. And it's just cool. It was like, wow, like he has his back already. He
Yep.
doesn't know who it is yet, but he has his back already.
I think it's really awesome that we didn't have to go through the very cliched like, "Oh no, I hate him because I don't understand him," that I thought we were gonna do with Honto. And instead, we get to then instead see that Honto is a smart person, and he can understand who the good guys are and who the bad guys are very quickly. Like, he's like he is a journalist. He's this sort of like guy researching the situation. So it's cool that he didn't get duped by that. I like that. And also I really like that he was like kind of a tough guy this episode, right? He finds that Gochizo, he sees these agents clearly attacking people. He tries to help. He gets knocked out, but then he like still is like he's in the room. He's like trying to pry the candy apart to save the people. Like he is fully in trying to do his own little hero thing. He doesn't have the power, but he's not like running away, which is cool. I like that in a sidekick guy who clearly eventually is gonna get Kamen Rider power.
And I think along with that too, maybe at worst, since the whole like him and Shoma aren't going to fight about who Shoma is. So like that's ruled out. At most, they'll have like the brotherly reveal of, hey, I lost my mom to one of these things. Like, oh, I lost somebody too, and like they have the bonding moment now.
Yeah.
So at worst, I could see it being that when he goes back to talk to the scientist guy of like, hey, there's technology here, we can make this work. At maybe worst, I can see him selling out Shoma as the common writer and being like torn on if he should say that his friend already has the magic Gav power, or if like he slips up and he's like, "Oh yeah, well it works with Shoma," blah blah blah, like accidentally lets it slip out or something
Oh
like that.
yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
But that's like the last, at least with what we've seen so far. That seems like the last way they could make that be a weird conflict point if it's going to be a conflict point.
very true. But really, they're setting up for the two of them and Sachiko to be best friends because finally, Shoma goes back to her place because he needs the work. He runs into Hanto, who's leaving after having just paid her for her, uh, I guess, social media prowling that she'd been
Scouring.
doing. Yeah. So that's cool. I like that they're like having them all like intersect. And yeah, Shoma is back with Sachiko, and she had what was her line? It was like about dogs vomit. Like I don't.
Yeah, she's like, because like he, again, it's something they could have drug it out, but I guess there was no reason to, because she's too overly nice and like just super forgiving. Like made one like kind of cranky joke about him bailing on her and just forgot it right away.
Yeah.
But the line was like, "I'm not a dog. I'm not going to eat the vomit."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Wait, what? I'm the dog?" And she was like, "Haha, no, silly. You can move in here. I'll make you your own room real quick. Don't worry about it. I don't want you sleeping on the couch."
Yeah,
And
like
then like,
in real life that clearly went faster than that conversation would go, and like her letting someone just move into her, house slash business doesn't make a lot of real world sense, but like, I'm happy we got there and she has proven that she is a character who would do that so far, so it doesn't feel out of left field. It feels appropriate that she would be that giving with her space and her
yeah,
safety, her very own safety.
yeah, and really with the funny dog vomit comment. I mean, really her thing is just like, "Hey, you fucked me over once. That's your freebie. You just don't do it again."
Yeah,
Like,
totally. Yeah, I'm so glad we get to now see her place more often too. Like, I'm glad that that'll be the vibes. And I think that she told Showman that he can live like up in the circle, like her
the
weird
yellow
little.
bubble.
Yeah, which is great. He gets to be up on display. Um, yeah, so if we got the groundwork laid there. And then, we have our fight. I think the fight choreography again for this episode was really, really good. Like I was watching it back a little bit of it before we started here. And again, I was like taken aback by some of the cool stuff they do. Like there's at one point Shoma goes to crank his gav, like doing the charge me thing, and the agent grabs his arm to keep him from doing it, and then he like does a 360 flip over the agent so that he can crank the arm, like just as the 360 happens. Like that's really cool. Like we really haven't seen stuff like that in other series. Like I feel like they've really ramped it up.
That was the one specific part of the choreography I wrote down too. That if you didn't mention, I wanted to. Like that was like the slickest way to do it, because since obviously his henshin belt, whatever Gav thing, does work different than everybody else's. Like that is a possibility. Like the
Yeah.
agent's smart enough to know, like, well, if you eat like a chizo, you're gonna recharge yourself. So I'm just gonna grab your little shifter there so you can't. And like, yeah, like the easiest solution is, well, if you're not gonna let me do it, but your hand's still there, I'll just flip over you, and it would
Yeah.
work the same way. Like that was awesome. And then we found out that like the new food ish of the week was spicy chips instead of just chips, which I thought
Yeah.
was amazing. I was like, hell yeah, fire stuff, because spicy things are amazing. And then when he did the upgraded chip swords spicy version, the flames look so good with all the fighting. There was one point where even like there was flames on the ground. He kind of like flipped over to put back out and everything, and it all just looks so good.
Yeah, the flame stuff like shockingly good looking. It wasn't like really like even good for a common writer. It was like, no, that just like actually looks good. And they, you know, we're gonna see reused forms, in this show, obviously. So like we're getting the chip form back, but I like that they're mixing it up still. Like it's chips, but they're spicy this time. So there's flames everywhere. And that was actually like a meaningful enough difference that it felt like a different form because the swords work completely differently then. They're shooting flames and he gets to do these like flame lashes that literally stretch across the room and he can bring them together. And slap the flames together and stuff. Yeah, I think that worked really well. So it's a good way to like make use of those things without feeling like you're just going back to that well over and over again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I continue to be actually impressed by the fighting, which sometimes is just the easy thing to skip through in a show, or not skip through, but like an easy thing to just like not talk about, right? Uh, and it continues to be very good. Also, the agents continue to be very cool. I
Yeah,
really, really
for
love
as
it.
base as they are, I think they're awesome. And then I wrote it down earlier, but we were jumping around a bunch. Did we know before this week that the agents come out of the Monster Factory's stomach things?
I don't
Like
think so. I think that's new. Yeah.
yeah, because like I assumed they were just other workers there before this episode, and then the twins shot them out of their stomachs to go out and do things. And then I wasn't sure if I just didn't notice that happened before or not, but it seemed like that was a new reveal of information kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that it is. So it's, and it makes sense why the agents were so tough last time, because like there clearly aren't a ton of them. Like if they're producing them out of their own gavs, then like there aren't going to be a ton, and they're going to be pretty specialized. Because like that, I think Lango says it at the beginning. He's like, I can put my agents in charge again, meaning like, yeah, the guys that I trust that come out of my own stomach. um, yeah, that's cool. I like that. I like that as a means of producing those guys, because now it means like as the fights progress and we start having like members of the stomach clan involved in fights directly, they can just like pop putties out of their stomach
Yep.
basically whenever they want, which is cool. So yeah, I think it's pretty neat. I think that's hits the high points of the episode. Anything else about the episode that you liked or wanted to bring up?
I think the only other part tied to other conversations that we already had was after all of Shoma's rage about like fuck my dad, fuck my family, this is all bullshit. He was off wandering the streets eating his spicy chips, and he found a nice mom and son who were in distress.
Oh yeah.
And it was nothing more than just the kid dropped his toy down a sewer grate. He helped the kid obviously pull a sewer grate out because he's magically muscular and everything else. And he had like his reawakening or straightening out of his own personal path of, oh yeah, like it doesn't matter if my dad was a piece of shit, but if I can help people here and make people happy, like that's really the power of what I should be doing with myself. And that's what led him with him going back to Chica's house and being like, hey, I'm sorry for bailing on you. You know, can I have a chance? Can we be friends? Kind of deal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like that he had that little wholesome moment, and that was his reaffirmation. We also forgot to mention too at the end of the episode, Hanto's boss slash dad father figure gets compressed. He gets turned into some dark candy. It appears because he meets a.
He meets the druggie. He meets the specific druggie from earlier.
Is it the same one? Is it the same
Yeah,
guy?
because he had the crazy bowler hat with like the I'm gonna call him the dread in the front, but it's probably just braids or something like
Oh,
that.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like the guy that was all druggy in the middle, that was like, "Ooh, I'll eat this later. Ooh, this is so delicious. No, I have to wait." Like he was the one. Like he got sent on a special side mission thing for a tastier treat, and then we found out that the side mission was, "Hey, go get Hanta's whatever. Go get his dad figure and go chizo him or stomach him or whatever the hell we're gonna call it."
Yep. And that guy's crazy looking. He's like got a top hat. Like he's just a wild looking character.
He plays the druggie very well.
He does. Yeah. So you have to wonder, is the next episode or the episode after that when Hanto finally gets his own powers? He's got to go save his dad.
I think either he saves his dad or he tells Chika and Shoma like, "Hey, my dad guy's missing. I know this crazy shit's going on in the world. Can we like take care of this? Can we try to find him? Whatever." And I feel like that's the time where, like, I feel like the Shoma reveal of being Gav is probably closer than later,
Yeah.
and this seems like a good this feels like a good time for a Hanto to realize like, hey, this is Shoma, because there's gonna be some like weird overlap of, well, no one else would care about this, but Shoma knew I was looking for him, and Shoma knew what was up, and things along those lines.
Yeah. I think I agree. All right. Well, we do have one more email we can read here before we close out. This email comes in from our friend Shade. Shade says, "Greetings, everyone. It's time for more Common Rider Gav. Lots of spicy revelations this week. I'm loving how Shoma is getting closer and closer to being a classic Common Rider. It's been so long since we've had a protagonist that was physically remodeled. You guys don't know how much I geeked out at that detail." Now to the trivia. The actor who plays the role of Suga, the Grenade researcher, previously voiced Jiran, the Red Ranger of Kikai Sentai Zenkaiger. Although Zenkaiger's a weird season, so he's not like the other Red Rangers. He's also a mech.
Ooh.
Um, I actually don't believe that. I actually didn't believe this at first because he sounds so different in Zenkaiger. It's also pretty cool that he decided to do some live action work for Gav because he's mainly a voice actor. Also, is it just me or does his outfit look vaguely styled after Willy Wonka? You know, because the cane, the hat, and the chocolate. Yeah, he has a Wonka esque vibe to him in general, like even in his mannerisms. I think, um, which is shocking that he is mainly a voice actor because he's so good at, I feel like, physically portraying a character. Like, if you remember when he got introduced and his the way he like leaned back and he was like, "Oh, but I haven't tried them, of course." You know, like those sorts of like little things that he did are kind of impressive that he's that good at it. Shade says Honto's that guy isn't a monster. He's a common writer speech in this episode was actually made into a meme by Japanese Twitter.
Hell
the
yeah.
the meme is basically Honto identifying whether a character is a common writer or not by using the "this guy isn't a monster, he's a common writer" line, or the edited "this guy isn't a common writer, he's a monster." And it works because there's so many characters that look like writers but aren't writers. So he's like getting it right, getting it wrong. That's funny. And then let's see. To pinpoint how far ahead they are with the show, there's a set leak for episode 6, and it was filmed 5 months ago. That's crazy. At the same time, we first learned the trademark for the show. I'm also looking through the old leaks of the show, and I'm surprised how many of them were legit. So that's great that it's like 5 months ahead on filming versus airing.
We
Um,
like we made like comments a couple times now along the way of like, hey, they can't back out. They decided they had a plan. They rolled forward super far ahead of everything else.
yeah.
And again, like it worked. They did the right thing.
Yeah, I think so. And like clearly we've talked about the CG a couple times and how it looks pretty good and stuff. So I think like maybe that means they're having more time for that sort of stuff too. That they have some more post-production time. Shade says we're taking a detour back to Gotchard for the segment because they finally announced Gotchard's post-season movie, Common Rider Gotchard Graduations. There's a trailer out and an awesome poster. Shade says the poster goes hard, and I agree. Posted this in our Discord, but it's like all of the like cherry blossom trees and like the Common Riders are in the corner down at the bottom. It's a very cool looking poster. I think the movie's not coming out until 2025, if I remember correctly, which is kind of crazy.
I
So
mean, it's almost here though too. Like
that's
it'll be here
true.
next
Yeah,
week, basically.
that's true. That's true. And then to go further down in detail, I thought you guys might find interesting. In the newest episode preview of Kamen Rider Outsiders, which is the crossover miniseries, Gene, the fanboy guy from Geats, will be hosting a Desire Royale featuring Kamen Rider supervillains from other series. Oh, and Baroba's there too.
Hell yeah.
This is interesting because Gene's a fucking liar, and his promise to make a safe DGP was so hollow. I'm just joking, by the way. He's probably doing this to keep the supervillains from messing up the planet or something. That's cool. It's good to see Gene and Baroba back in that. I liked both of those characters. It's so cool that like even if it's not everything not things we watch necessarily, like every little thing that comes out. Um, I love that like we're in a world now where these shows can live on for a long time in projects like that. Like someone like Gene can pop up in like a web exclusive show like, a full year and a half after his main series.
And it's crazy too, because like thinking about like there's a lot of times where I like the way like the Japanese music industry works versus like how things are in America kind of blows my mind of like Japan's like, hey, bands write songs, we'll put them on the TV shows. They'll be opening themes for most everything kind of deal. And America doesn't really seem like they would cross over like bands and television and everything that much like Japan does. And like along that same line, I feel like there's no TV show that we have that pops out a movie once the season ends, but like it keeps the universe going over and over and over. Because it's not just like the God Shards the first time they're doing it. Like they did it with Geats, they did it with XA, they did it like going
Yeah.
back forever. And it's just crazy that like it's such this weird like own universe or biome or something where like no matter what, all the shows just keep living on. And
Yeah.
no one cares and everyone's excited for it. Like they can make a Geats movie next year and like, hey, there's a random follow up to Geats that's gonna have Gotchard in it and Legends and someone else in a wacky crossover and doing things. And no one would care. No one would say like, wow, this is cheesy. No one would say, wow, this is stupid. They'd be like, fuck yeah, Geats is back, let's do it. And it would be
Yeah.
a huge thing. And it's just crazy how much different like I guess media is in Japan than at least for us like in America. Like it's just a wildly different vibe. It just works over and over and over.
Yeah, they got their own little like cottage industry there where it's like, they're churning out movies constantly. And if you I guess if you're plugged into that world as an adult fan, or if you're a kid who like really loved Geats or whatever, like you're there for it whether it comes out tomorrow or next year or whatever. But yeah, they taken as a whole, looking at everything, like they're putting out constant movies, and that's um yeah, it is crazy how effective that is. Sorry, I'm dying apparently over here.
Josh, yeah, Josh is losing it.
Yeah. Power Rangers tried that at first, right? Like when Power Rangers first came over and was at like the height of their popularity, they put out some movies. We put out that Power Rangers Turbo movie. And there were a couple others. So like they attempted to do uh we're gonna be the all things in every form of media type play, but like quickly fizzled, right? Like it wasn't too long where it's like, okay, yeah, we're not gonna do the movie thing anymore. Like we're just gonna keep doing the shows. Um, so yeah, it doesn't last that long here. You bring up theme song. I think that's an interesting topic too, because like think about the prevalence of like opening themes in Japan, and like a big part of that is anime, right? Like the anime opening theme is a whole genre and category all to itself, and like those have only expanded I feel like in recent years, where like American television has all but like removed the openings. Like we don't really get opening theme songs to most shows. At most you get like a few letters floating together, and then it shows the logo of the show, and then you're in it. um so
But even like the famous ones, like they're not band songs.
right.
That's that like that's the weird disconnect to me. So like just sitting here thinking of like the two, or I guess it used to be like the three main ones I can think of just sitting here. Stranger Things is a 80s synth wave thing, but it's like notable as fuck. The Breaking Bad one was like 20 seconds of dirty sounding slide guitar, and
Yep.
that one again is amazing. But it's just, I mean, someone made music and like that kind of thing. And then the last one I thought of was CSI and that whole era, and that was using real songs, but that was like more like a one off. Like I feel like as we've gone through like the decades, it was theme songs written for the show, special to the show. For a while afterwards, it was like maybe popular songs, like thinking of like Big Bang Theory was a real song and stuff like that. And then it was just like all the pure audio ones. And at this point, most TV shows, if they have an intro, I don't think I even watch them because we're so like hard
Skip.
built into just pressing the skip intro thing.
Yeah, skip intro.
Yeah.
Uh, we do have some like pretty famous intros, but like you said, like most of them are. It's not like we got a band to even do it. It's like we got like a dude to write some music, and then like it's not like oh my god, this is like Nickelback doing the theme for whatever. It's like it's this no name group or whatever, like a studio musicians. But like MASH had a really good theme song that everyone knows, right? Like, but like you don't know who sang the MASH theme song or who performed the MASH theme song. Um, even The Office, right? The Office has like a very popular theme song, and it's by a band, but like, can you name the Office theme song band? I can't, and I'm a huge fan of The Office.
I feel like if I thought about it, I feel like I could, but I'm not sure. And like another crazy one like that was the Always Sunny theme is like whatever it's called, like Creative Commons song or like the open license kind of shit you can use. Because shows everywhere or a bunch of other shows use the Always Sunny themes or the stingers a lot. And it's across a bunch of shows. So like that's obviously common enough out there where just people just borrow it. So it's just
Yeah,
like I don't know, it's just a wildly different thing.
it is. Yeah, the whole different culture for sure.
And back to our common rider bubble here. Um, so the Ace's actor or Geet's actor, whatever you want to call him. So he was a one-time common rider. Obviously, he was Geet's. He's been in 9 common rider things as of now.
That's
Like I
awesome.
mean, like counting the series, obviously, as being one. So there's 8. He was in 8 other common rider things that were either movies tied to his character or extras where he was in other people's movies.
Yeah, already. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's in 2 years. Like he has 13 like the guy himself has 13 acting credits in 2 years basically, and 9 of them are common rider with his character. So like, it just doesn't stop. It's just a crazy thing.
Yeah. And I think that's like, you know, I guess maybe I'm a little hypocritical because like in here, we have like the Marvel, like the Disney machine exists, right? Where we for Marvel stuff and for Star Wars, it's like we gotta pump out things constantly. And if we're not having movies, then you gotta have a new TV show every couple months. And it's gotta be the new thing. And you gotta have constant stream of freaking stuff getting shoved down everyone's throat. And like I, for being a huge Marvel fan, am like very tired of all the Marvel stuff and don't watch a lot of it now. Same with Star Wars. Like I like Star Wars, don't give a crap about 90% of the shows and stuff because like it's just too much. So like I guess I'm kind of hypocritical. I'm trying to figure out what's different about the commoner stuff and why I like that. And I think it's that it's like it's a bit more like we're just taking these characters and playing with them in a different setting or in a slightly different way instead of like instead of this air of like it's a big production, right? Like it's a whole new character, a whole new thing we have to do and we have to introduce to you. It'd be much cooler if it was just like, no, do you remember like Finn from Star Wars? Well, now he's back and he's in this TV show. He's gonna go do this other crazy thing. Uh, I think I'd like that better.
I think it's funny that you use the phrase playing with the characters because I think that's actually what makes the difference. It's more like playing with action figures with a different background or
Yeah,
new like okay, I have my Geets action figure and my KY action figure. We have our little battles this year and like we screw around, have a good time. And then it's like, okay, series 2 just came out and now you can buy your own god shard and you can get a little hopper with them and then they're enemies and you're like, wow, I can go back with my old toys and now I have new ones too and now like it's a little more dynamic and we can go to this new location. And I think like the fact that they're actual like episodic action figures makes it more universal where it can be almost the same show but the characters can just be moved around, so
yeah,
it's easier to just move them around and just do new things with them.
yeah, and like that maybe sounds like derogatory a little bit, but it's that's the appeal to me. I think for a lot of this
Yeah,
stuff.
it was like
Yeah,
my speech was not to put it down in that sense. It was more just like it works in a way that it's all universal and it
yeah.
moves all the moving parts move around nicely in different situations.
Yeah, where like when the Marvel stuff first started, like it was like, and now it's like the worst character from the Marvel movies is gonna go do his own thing with a whole bunch of other people you don't know, and no one cares, right? Like Agents of Shield, like no one gave a crap. And now like when they do, at least when they do Star Wars, they do attempt that, and like the stuff I think that's good is like when they are, giving you characters that you do know and stuff sometimes, but like the stuff that seems like especially bad is like trying to get you to invest in a completely new character or a completely new situation, but they just want to call it Star Wars or call it Marvel so that you'll watch. Uh, so yeah, I definitely have said before that like I really wish a lot of our superhero stuff that we get here was ran more like Common Rider, where it's like it's maybe a little bit cheaper, but you can make it faster, and it feels like a little bit more. Um, I was gonna say feels more real. That's not the right word. It feels like less produced, right? Like just put a guy in a suit and go like tell some quick, fast, fun stories. Like that's really what I want now. Instead of like everything has to be like this like Thanos level event, where it's larger than life and requires a multi-million-dollar movie. But anywho, yeah. Um, Once again, Japan's doing it better than we are, Joey.
Hell yeah.
All right. We haven't mentioned it somehow this whole episode. I don't know how we've made it through so far, but we have a Patreon. If you would like to check that out, it is patreon.com/the comment writers. For $3 a month, you get access to all of our bonus content. We do a lot of what we call watch and reacts, which are like Mystery Science Theater, but for tokusatsu. You get to watch the shows along with us and hear our jokes and comments along the way. It's a lot of fun. And you also get access to our Discord where you can hang out with us and talk with a bunch of like-minded people all week long. And that's super fun. So patreon.com/the comment writers to get access to all of that good stuff. And of course, if you would like to send in an email like we got from a couple lovely people today, send those over to cast@commonwritersucks.com. Once again, that is cast@commonwritersucks.com. All right. So that is going to wrap us up for this week. Toby, thanks very much for joining me. Thank you all out there for joining me. We hope you come back to talk about Gav
You said come
episode
back.
6. Yeah, we hope you sign up for the OnlyFans whenever that's available. And in the meantime, we hope you have a great week, everybody. Peace.